Good evening, welcome everyone.
Evening.
We're May 23rd. We have a quorum. Welcome Ken Rand, new member. Going to the general business, the first agenda item is to reorganize the board and make committee appointments. I'm going to move that to the end. We haven't got Margaret here. Paul's not here yet, and there may be some discussion.
I just saw an email from Paul. He said he's running a few minutes late.
All right, so there may be some discussion on that, so we'll move that to the end. I don't want to hold up the customer applicants. All right, so approval not required. We have a lot 11 and a lot 11A off of East Street.
Are we gonna do the general business or are we moving all of that to the end?
With Paul. Yeah. Approval not required. Do we have East Street?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Jeff Stefanik.
Yeah, hold on a second, sir. We're just gonna grab your form out, your plan up, take a look at it. Go ahead, Norm. Welcome. All right, go right ahead.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Stefanik. I'm a land surveyor with Gary and Halnon. We have an A&R plan here for the Kelly family on East Street. This plan was before the board last month, and we were asked to add some notes to the plan, which we did. One was in regard to straight line frontage. The other was in regard to the width at the 80%. And we added those, and I believe the plan is suitable for endorsement by the board.
I see both of those. Yes, thank you very much. Any questions, Mr. Craig?
There was a new Form A submitted. This.
The 81 Peak Office also goes by two other aliases. Form A, which is the actual form that you fill out for the town, and A&R. Our surveyor friends will use A&R. Okay. The experts in the field.
And yet we still have to approve it.
Because we gotta make sure that they're in conformance with the.
Any questions?
Hi, I'm Paul Carey. And Ray, nice to meet you.
All right, I will, is there a motion to approve the plan as submitted?
So moved.
And I'll second that. Any discussion? Discussion motion, all those in favor of approving the plan as submitted, let's say aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye, and I will make that unanimous.
All in person tonight, yeah.
And, right, so we need the magic pen.
So they'll endorse that, Jeff, and you can stop by the office to grab copies and pick up the Mylar.
The right
I'll
language.
do that. Thank you all very much.
We have to.
Thanks, Jeff.
I found the thing that was, I know what 80% more is,
Oh,
but
the wirefront.
Yeah,
yeah, well, I know, we're just trying to.
we just call it the 80%.
So he showed what for the 80% will.
That we're,
Clients,
Oh.
you know,
you can do it with a note line, or you can do it with a line here.
Yeah, the plan reflects the
Yeah.
company's
yeah,
80%.
I'll be right back.
Sign, one on sign. We need one more copy. We need one more copy.
Okay.
I pushed the reorganization to the end.
That's good.
There may be some discussion, maybe a CMRIP appointment in there, we don't know yet. And when we look at this, the person looking for the surveyors.
Right.
So their job is to put a data locus on there and a data table to tell us what the zone is. This is how the data table show us that you got straight in enough frontage, you got enough square footage. You get your setbacks. You know, so there it is to put all of the
Right.
detail. This front on a public way. You'll get it.
Okay.
There's no pressure on you tonight.
No problem. I'll take in as much as I can.
And I'll stop by every day, to with all your questions.
So you can stop. All right, next we have 115 South Street. This is a parcel in the parcel away. Is that what it was?
It's the creation of two parcels, and then each respective,
Dividing it up.
one of the lots is taken one, the other lot is taken the other.
Yeah, we have a note line that says that they have to be held in common ownership with the original owners. We have the surveyors, we have our locus, we have our thing too.
I am recused on this one.
We have our access.
But then we don't have Clark. If he recuses himself, we don't.
You get 3 votes.
He's sworn in.
Yes.
Oh, three. Okay.
He's sworn in.
I'm recused.
Okay.
I,
Actually, let me,
take a look at. Well, then we have a Mylar, please.
just see.
Okay. Is there anybody from, the applicant?
Put down, it's over here.
Is there anybody from South Street on the line? Oh, big problem. You know who the applicant is? Give him a call and.
Is there a question about it? I mean, I
No,
certainly contact.
just tell them to come in, that it's been signed.
Absolutely, yeah, we have their contact.
What's happening on this?
They're taking, there's two lots here, and they're taking, there's some land, splitting it up. One parcel is going, the other parcel 1 is going to, with lot 9. And parcel, 2 is going with, held in common with Russ and Sherry Berger, which is right here.
Right, makes sense.
And it's probably for, when they originally did it, now there's probably either maybe a septic system problem or there's something, it's just, this makes it look better for both houses probably when you see something like this.
Yeah.
Maybe one house just got kids, you know.
Sorry, makes sense.
So it's $50 per part for the plan. And, they're welcome to, a little bit of.
So moved.
And I'll second that. Second. In favor? Kathy, do, okay, aye,
Aye.
and I'll make it change. Like 2 signed ones.
So, is that right? Putting you on?
I'll be back.
Okay.
It was a magic. Yeah.
Aye. Oh, sorry.
Oh. Thank you. Yeah, my whole life. Gonna stop for.
Well, the Mayflower always has to be signed with one of these ones. And then
Well, yeah.
the other. No.
It's not gonna work.
I thought it would be more official. Oh,
I don't get it.
okay.
That's what I'm gonna do.
And just get, 2 signs. One of these, one of them goes to the Board of Assessors to start a taxation. And the other one goes to the town clerk.
Wow.
And then we keep an unsigned copy in our file.
Never explained this stuff to me, improving the water. But
It was remote.
you were changed. I can go.
Please, help me. Stay me. Please. Great. Okay, so next on the list is, public guarantee street estates. Did they ask for?
They
All
did.
All right, so I'm going to suspend the regularly scheduled meeting and reopen the public hearing for East Street Estates.
Who did they ask for?
So June 27th.
Is that the first date?
What do you
Needs
guys
to-
do?
I just want to make sure it's the fourth Tuesday.
From that.
It is.
And did they give us a shot clock extension?
Yep, that was they extended it to the date that the planning board needs to take action on. So
Which we don't know when we need to take action.
since you have a constructive grant deadline, right? That's the date by which you need to have acted by, so they extended that.
It's a decision deadline.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, but what did they extend it to? Just to the June 27th?
Correct.
Okay, that's what does.
And vote on it.
Yeah, vote on it and get it to the clerk that night.
Yeah, but we can't do that because we have to notify residents and I don't think anybody's going to
No,
notify residents
I know.
until.
They still, I'll ask them to provide
If they
additional
should give
items
us,
next meeting. Yeah.
that would be very helpful.
So they'll continue the shot clock with the aim of continuing it again.
So they've asked for a continuance to June 27th with the extension of the shot clock to that date.
Right.
Can't ask them because they're not here right now for a further extension, but Mike will ask them for a further extension, so we don't have to. Because otherwise, if we didn't act on this application, it's a big subdivision. If we didn't act on it, it could be constructively approved. And acting on it means we would actually have to vote here and then send a written decision and get it to the clerk. So we would call Madam Clerk at home and say, hey, we're coming over with our decision. So I would move that we continue the public hearing to June 27th at 7:05 PM. And with the extension of the shot clock to the same day as requested by the applicant.
I'll second that for discussion. Would it make sense to have them report to this board on the first Tuesday, the first meeting, the second Tuesday of June, to let us know what's going on? I'd like the shot clock to us so we can vote on it. Because if we don't have it, we should probably vote on the subdivision that night.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think if maybe we can ask them to give us so you want an update from them on the second Tuesday of June with a request for the extension of the shot clock, and we'll narrow down the date after
Does
that.
that make sense?
Yeah,
That makes sense.
but for the time being, his motion stands.
Motion stands as is, yeah, but I agree.
Yeah.
Mr. Antelis can probably help us.
Yeah, I was just thinking, but yeah, that's fine, because you're extending the
We're extending everything
shot
to June
clock, so
27th.
that's fine to still
Right.
invite them to the next meeting, to describe what's going on. So that's fine.
Update can be here, it can be in writing, it can be Zoom.
I don't forget anything against the wall.
Right.
All right, any more discussion? All right, seeing none, the motion is to accept the continuation to June 27th, 7:05, and to increase to extend the decision deadline as well to June 27th. Favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
There's a reason, that we don't like to have the meeting the same date as their resident who show up. We some of the meeting, all of us meetings. So we have an agreement with them that they'll notify all the residents when they're ready, so they'll keep showing up.
And I've been
So,
in contact with David Brooks, who is a resident there. He calls me every meeting to make sure it's not on.
Yeah.
So,
okay, so we're going to reopen, close that, reopen the regularly scheduled meeting. We have a public hearing for Governor's Landing. Are they asking for?
they did, yeah, and that was obviously because we would not have had enough voting members tonight to even discuss that item. So to the same date, June. Actually, Grace, can you confirm what was, I believe it was the June 27th.
Packet. June 13th.
Was it the June 13th? Oh, that's right. Yeah, it was the June 13th.
Do we have anything heavy on that deck, or we put them at 7:05?
7:00.
I would move that we continue this public hearing to June 13th, 7:05.
Second discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of moving Governor's Landing's public hearing, deemed it to 13th at 7:05.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then unanimous.
We can probably ask them, assuming we have the conversation that day, we really ask them to do the same exact thing, as they got broken with the shot clock out and a couple weeks to allow for the recording of a decision, should a decision even be made that night. Same sort of scenario.
So that is, it is, we reopen the regular schedule. Okay,
You're gonna get me to the tip off, aren't you? I like it. You're gonna get me home for tip off.
I'm gonna try to discussion on 41 Milford Street, Mr. Flannery, please let us know now.
Yeah, do we have anybody online for 41 Milford Street?
Yes, this is Mark Wumble. And,
Hi.
Jacob, the
Hi, Mark.
will also be on. Yep.
Please go right ahead.
Hi, my name is Jacob Lemieux with Hancock Associates. Is it okay if I share my screen so I
Please,
can
please
share?
do.
So, and then just for clarity, this is not an application for the borough currently, it's just the applicant that was reaching out, or the representative of the applicant was reaching out, just to get an understanding of what interpretation of our bylaws may be, or what the board may prefer to see as a result in an application before they submit. So they're just looking for some information before they actually submit an application.
Okay, that's what we're here for. Go right ahead.
Yes, so my name is Jacob Lemieux with Hancock Associates. We're out of Marlboro. I'm here representing Mark Wumble, Hollowbrook Builders. He's the applicant and the owner of the site. Just for some history, this is a prior site plan that has been approved on this parcel before the zoning change to allow for the mixed use development. This was the same applicant for this approval. So we've created a couple of concept plans for a potential mixed use development for the site that we wanted to run by the planning board and get some direction so that we're all moving forward on the same page with this project. So this would be our commercial centered mixed use development here. So what we'd have here is we'd have ground floor, which would be about 16,000 square foot of commercial space with 4 or 5 units, with a residential lobby and residential units up on the 2nd and 3rd floors. So this is a much more commercial heavy development that we get the impression the planning board would much rather like to see a residential heavy development, which sort of lends into the reasoning behind the zoning change to bring some housing into the area, which is what our second conceptual site plan is here. So again, there's
If I may interrupt a moment there, we actually didn't put a ratio in there. Were you thinking in terms like a 75-25 split residential to commercial? What was your thoughts on the ratio?
So the ratio of the commercial centered here would be probably you'd have 28 units on the upper floors. You'd have that 15,000 square foot commercial unit. So you'd be looking at 50-50 here, maybe up to 60-40 for the split between the residential and the commercial here.
Okay, thank you.
I
know some communities like to have a little more residential than the
Right.
actual isn't there, but there's reasons for and against.
Right. And that's where our second concept comes in here. And this is basically, this is residential housing all the way up for 3 floors. This design here, this concept ends up with 40 residential units and only about 1,300, a single retail unit on the end here. This could potentially be a drive-through bank, but that hasn't been decided yet. That's just something that's allowed by zoning. Or any other retail down here. And this would be more like a 90-10 or 80-20 split between residential and commercial. Both of these developments will require a special permit from the planning board. I understand that we are exempt from applying for a stormwater permit from the Conservation Commission as the the mixed use requires a special permit from the planning board. So the stormwater review can be rolled into that. We understand that we'll also need to do a septic design that'll need to be approved by the health department. So we'll be doing soil testing for that when we get into actual design. But at this point, we really wanted a high level guidance from the board on which direction they're leaning on preferring, and so that we can head in that direction and make this as smooth as possible.
Well, I guess I'll go first. Well, I'm not going to help you design it, but I will give you some of my thoughts on the problems in the path. One is the speed limit. You got a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit right in your entrance. We got to get if we're gonna develop that, we can't have traffic coming down that hill at 45 miles an hour. We got to talk to the state and get that reduced so the people in and out of there will be safe.
Right,
That's
and that
the
was a note on the prior approved plans too, that we would reach out to project proponent, will seek permission from Mass Highway to reduce the speed limit within the project limits. So that's something that we'd still be willing to do for this project.
And yeah, excellent. And the water studies, it's the same. When in the past it was we would ask the planning board would ask for the runoff numbers, and that's for people's basements and for driveways and yards and stuff. And then conservation kind of took over that review for the bugs and the plants, but planning board still retained the need for a water runoff report.
Yep. Absolutely. We plan on providing an entire stormwater design with a stormwater report to ensure that we're compliant with Mass DEP standards.
Those are my main things that I remember from the past, from the last submission. You know, once you do submit, there's going to be a reviewing engineer. There's going to be the town boards are going to look at it, DPW, fire, police. So we'll get their input later on. But from what I remember, it was a buildable site with a wet towards the south. It was wet, and isn't it the top as you're looking at the top left-hand corner that's got some runoff problems from across the street.
Oh, up in this area here.
Yeah, wasn't there? Yeah. There was the wet area up there, but that's what I remember.
Yeah,
I remember people were, the neighbors across the street were pretty concerned with how, lighting and things would exit. The speed limit was a problem. The water was a problem. Runoff and road water there, which hasn't seemed to be a problem in recent years.
They're still up on water too.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if it's going to be as big a deal. I don't know what changed there. And then neighbors were very concerned with how the lights coming in and out of that were going to look. Do you have I'm terrible at visualizing, things on paper like that. Do you have any kind of a rendering or for instances of what this thing would look like in either one of your iterations, either the heavy residential or the heavy commercial?
You got a side view of the 3 stories?
No, we haven't gotten into architectural design of the building yet, so it's still in a very conceptual phase at this point.
Because the 3 stories are allowed in the village district. The fire chief will tell us if it's too high that he can take care of it. I don't think so. Pretty much the height is dictated by safety.
Yep, understood.
And are you proposing any kind of a affordable component to this, or?
Mark, is that something that you could speak to? Whether or not you'd like to include some affordable housing units here, or if that's not something that's a part of the program at this point?
I think it's excuse me. I think it's a possibility. I think the bigger purpose of sort of this intro is to really get the board's direction on the ratios that you guys would like to see, because we've talked to different people in the town, and it seems like it's definitely a residential heavy desire. And before we go to the next steps in design, we really wanted to make sure that we're coming in close to your target to avoid a lot of potential slowdowns and redos. So In short, I think that's the main purpose of bringing this concept up front to you guys ahead of time like we are.
Can I just ask a couple questions? I was not here, first reiteration of this plan, I don't think.
It was before the
Okay.
district was even.
Yeah, it was before, yeah, it was long before.
Yeah.
And, so I guess my question is, when you're talking, commercial, what are you talking about? Do you have any vision of what type of business you should want in there?
You want me to answer, Jacob?
Yeah, Mark, that's more of an answer. That's more of a less an engineering question.
Yeah, I mean, basically, we're open to who would be interested. We are definitely thinking there would be some level of retail, something as simple as a coffee shop, possibly some professional building type stuff with doctor or dentist, that kind of thing. With mixed use, it's very complicated, as you guys know, because you don't want noisy, smelly things on the first floor that really inhibit people on the second floor. And so trying to target, our commercial towards something that will help the community, but also the residents that live there.
The other two quick questions I have are, so the village district does have a preference for heavy residential? Okay.
Well, no, not necessarily. It doesn't mention any ratio.
Okay, well, personally speaking, I mean, my preference would be the mixed use. As far as, because it's a big commercial need for what's, in my opinion. Especially with some of the changes that might be been discussed in other parts of town. So, I mean, that is my personal preference. And the other thing I would really like is the inclusion of some affordable housing units to balance off the deficit. Should the market rate, there should be a heavy market rate component of this.
But the answer, the other side of that is these are pretty much affordable units in Upton.
But I mean,
This is going to be a cheaper form of housing than anywhere else we have.
right, but they have to be deed restricted. They have to be.
What Tommy's talking about is more diversity of pricing
Yeah.
than affordability
Yeah.
under state guidelines.
And yet we have to balance getting in a diversified housing stock with, we need income from other than residential
Right.
houses. We need to have some business and some commercial. So there's a reason to go 50-50. There's a reason to go 60-40.
Yeah.
But if you went 90-10, that still is mixed use, either way. But I will caution, I mean, we've got a subdivision that we're in the middle of a hearing on still with, right down the street. And when they moved that front piece and wanted to do residential and get rid of the commercial component, there was some real pushback from folks that were behind the business district. So I think people do want to see in our very limited business areas, some business.
Well, I also think in the economic development plan, you mentioned, I think, a pharmacy, you mentioned like small retail, I think you mentioned a pharmacy. Maybe I was hallucinating, but that stuff has been identified in a plan of what the town needs. I mean, the town, it's hard to do that much in Upton
But a builder at this stage, they're not gonna know who their tenants are.
Oh, I know.
And they're just gonna make it available.
Yeah.
It's whether they build it out as,
Right.
that looks like bedrooms or looks like storefronts.
Is this valuable to you?
I'm not sure. But, I mean, we're a cross section of the town probably. I think if you ask a bunch of people in the town, what do you want, commercial or residential, you're gonna get a split of what people want.
Yeah.
I think that people who want more business are gonna point to a zone like this
Yeah.
and say, we would like it to be more business. We're trying to get people to be out and about in this area of town and try to get some sort of buzz so that people would actually come to Upton, do some shopping, have a beer, get a sandwich, and then go wherever they're going. So I think the town would look more favorably on at least some retail. And the split, I don't know if it makes much of a difference.
The other thing,
To me.
just to bring up is that you're talking about septic and there is, the town is looking at extending sewer up Milford Street as part of Mike is gonna be submitting a grant in June. So that's just something to keep in your mind that, you're not gonna get a quick answer. So, you do what you need to do, but that's something that we're applying for the state to get some funding to help us do that.
Great.
And
That's
go-
great
go
information.
past. So you could tie into it.
What's the planning board's allow on, what are we allowed to do on hooking them up to town sewer?
What do you mean by allowed? I mean, it's.
I mean, is in that special, in that permit process, does it say in a subdivision, you have to hook up to town water sewer, or we have to wait, it's a mandatory requirement?
Oh,
In here, is it mandatory that they hook up and we have to waive it, or can they put in a septic system as long as it's approved by the board?
this would be a special permit and a site plan, so a septic system, I believe would be acceptable. It's not a subdivision, so you wouldn't be held by those requirements of the subdivision rules and regs.
What is your utility plan?
We don't have a utility plan yet. Right now, we've just got the septic. Oh, well, we can at least show you where the septic areas and the leaching areas for the stormwater would be. We planned out to have a large subsurface, most likely infiltration system out front. This will probably be some storm tech chambers or some pipe and stone underground storage infiltration area. And the septic system would be in the back of the building here. So we'd have a primary, which would be a very long field here, and then a reserve area in the back there. And obviously the shape and size of these areas are going to change depending on our use ratio. But in general, that's our plan on sewage disposal and stormwater management up front here.
Water. Town water, or do you have a well? We going well?
There's town water. There is town water there.
Nice on the hookup fees for that.
There wasn't.
Any other comments? What?
Yeah, I like that you guys came in early. I know that you've been working with this piece of land for a while. I would suggest keep coming back, informally until you hear enough from us. If we could get a look at what conceptually this would look like, just kind of the size of the building, looking at how it would blend with the area, that might help. I understand you can't know everything, like you can't know whether a bank is going to go in there. But I think having some, for me, as long as you have some business in there, I think I'd be okay with whatever the blend is.
I think the town needs both, really. Everybody's looking for both at this point, so mixed use makes
Yeah,
sense.
it sounds like the
Sure.
general consensus is a healthy mix of either. So maybe we go 50-50, 60-40 one way or another, somewhere in that range.
My only concern right now, it's probably early to talk about, but is the amount of properties that seem to be buttoned up to the back end. What is it going to look like from their perspective? Is there a tree barrier that can be put up, or something that can block their view from a 4-story
Sure.
building, 3-story building?
Yeah, this is going to be
Sure.
pretty impactful on those immediate neighbors. I think that's a great point.
Can I offer something? Through the chair, whatever the ratio ends up being, it sounds like there's not a strong opinion either way, but a healthy mix. I would say that if there ends up being a desire from the applicant to sway one way or the other as far as the ratio, that there just be a strong argument provided to the board for that. So like if the applicant finds that there's less of a market to provide retail, I wouldn't want the town to approve something that you then have an empty storefront. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think I agree with the general consensus. I would just caution the applicant when they're presenting to the board about those things.
And I assume the applicant's going to do a market study and kind of try and make their best educated guess.
And what Ken said, probably the last thing we can leave you with is it's the impacts. You're going to have to show us that you've dealt with the impacts. That's going to be light, that's going to be sound, it's going to be traffic, it's going to be drainage, it's going to be all the impacts in the neighborhood. And that'll come up during the process. You'll show us how big it is, where the lights are pointing, and it'll be a process on, and it'll be mostly impacts to the neighborhood, the surrounding area.
Yep, and we're definitely plan on including a photometric report of the rear area there and the front to make sure that we're not leaking light. We'll take a look at landscaping and what we can do for buffer areas along those rear lot lines to allow for some sort of screening from the residential areas. That's definitely something that will.
Yes, you have to go through the state to do your curb cuts anyway. So maybe you can talk about the sign during that process.
The speed sign.
The speed sign.
Speed reduction, yep.
Yeah, you will have to get their release to do any cuts on 140.
Which is, we're looking at pushing that sign 500 yards towards Milford, and I think everyone's gonna be happy.
Anyway, because they gotta slow down when they're coming.
I've asked the DPW just to run it down one winter, but I've had no luck so far. But that's it. Thank you for coming in, and please feel free. Hopefully, we've answered your questions or helped. Sure.
Yeah, I think that this has been very productive, and we've gotten some good guidance from you guys. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
and feel free to talk. Feel free to talk to Mike if you have any questions, and he'll get with the board and get back to you.
And Mike can also talk, introduce you to the other stakeholders that might have a real interest, like the economic development folks.
Yep.
Okay, Roger
Thank you
that.
very much.
Thank you, folks.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Good night.
Jake, why don't you reach out sometime, maybe next week or the week after, and we'll talk.
All right,
Okay.
sounds good. Appreciate it.
Bye, Jacob.
Bye, Mark.
Thank you. All right, discussion on lighting at Starker Field at Kiwanis Beach.
Yeah, Tom, I talked to you about this yesterday, and Kathy, I wanted to just bring this by the board and just confirm that a site plan will not be required if the youth soccer erects some lighting up on the side soccer fields over there. And the reason why it's questioned is only because there was a site plan approved to the board for the parking lot. The lights are not going to be associated with the parking lot. Lighting itself is not a trigger for site plan review. The lighting is going to be for the soccer field only, not the parking lot. So I just wanted to confirm with the board. That was also your opinion that site plan would not be required.
You make one neighbor mad, it's a problem. Sure.
That was a tough one, and we got burned on. Some of you weren't on the board at the time. We relied on an engineer to say that parking lot was going to be built ADA compliant. It was not.
So by 100 feet.
Yeah, we got called on it, and don't know why, but the town ended up paying the bill for the fixes, not the engineer. I would have done it a different way, but that's water under the bridge. I do think in that approval process, we made it a condition, or certainly a discussion, that the parking lot not be illuminated.
Right.
So I know that, I think that would be a problem if we didn't illuminate the parking lot, but I don't think we said anything about the field, so I don't know that we've got. Site plan gets triggered by size of parking, size of building, change of use. It's the same use, it's just in the dark.
Now, the process for putting lights up on a town field. What's the town?
Is that the selectmen, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, because they pay the bill.
They pay the bill.
So I've already, I met with the folks over the youth soccer organization. I obviously had the same concerns I think that anybody would have, which is where are these lights going? Are they going to be shining past the canopy at all of the surrounding trees? It looks like there's a really healthy border of vegetation around the field. I was concerned about, the elevation of the soccer fields over, the drop of as you get down to the lake, and then possibly shining, over that and onto the houses or neighborhoods that can see into, but it doesn't, I'm not sure if that's a real concern.
What type of vegetation is it? Because if all those leaves are gone when they actually need to eat, like they don't eat in the summer and then you get in the
You
winter.
mean when they actually play soccer in the
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's the other point, other side to the the town could use a revenue. And playing at night, you got a soccer field there.
Yeah.
You can use it at night and it doesn't bother the neighbors. What a great idea to bring in recreational money.
And you turn it off when it's not used, not 24/7.
No. Yeah.
Takes a while to come up and down.
But if I'm a neighbor and you suddenly put in a bunch of 1,000-watt bulbs around me,
It's an active neighborhood, as we found out.
Mhm.
So they will have something to say at church, whatever meetings they're at, but I don't think it's gonna be.
Well,
every
I'll
meeting.
pass that along to the youth soccer organization. I don't know if they're aware of that, you know what I mean?
it was posted.
It should be, just be, I mean, if you were involved in that field and that parking lot, I think you knew that and hey, they were right in the end. We need, it should have been ADA compliant and it wasn't, so
Mhm.
they did their job.
The large lot reduced frontage.
Yeah, this was a question. I think I get the answer on this, but again, wanted to bring this to the board. They got their approval on the special permit was approved December 2021 for the large lot frontage
I
reduction.
hate that title.
Me too.
And so they've gone ahead and recorded their A&R plan, which shows the all of the lots as this board approved them. My question was, is it the building permit that is taken out, the thing that solidifies the vested rights for that special permit? Or, I mean, certainly that definitely is my question. And so what I'm gonna, as of right now, unless something else comes out of this conversation, that's what I intend on telling
I
them.
don't know the answer to that.
If you want to beat the deadline of building permit, we'll do that.
We always talked about a shovel in the ground.
Yeah.
Right?
You gotta put.
Okay.
something
But you
down
get-
that starts.
I mean,
You
if that's
need a building permit to put the shovel in the ground.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, building permit definitely is how I've always seen it, is that even if you pull the building permit on the last day, that shows your intent to proceed. I mean, I've already informed them, obviously, that whoever purchases the property and retains it, they can notify the board and request an extension of the special permit if they need more time.
Yeah, the only thing that I'm uncomfortable with that is right now they've got it all on one plan. They've got the large lot reduced frontage and they've got the frontage lots on the same plan.
Yeah.
And I like it since that's two different processes to go through, it'd be nice if they would record or have us sign just the individual frontage lots for sale, but they were going first. They were doing the whole thing maybe, but that's okay. But what do you think about putting two different approval processes on the same?
But they're already approved, right? So it's just whether they lapse or whether they want us to try and break it. I think they should. I don't have any reason to disagree with your interpretation. The land use.
Just
clear,
on
so-
the street and West.
That's fine, I just, the decision itself just quoted the, 2 years expiration. I just wanted to get a sense if there was any thought or discussion about that. Typically, it is like, establishment of use within 2 years, meaning, pulling building permit. So I just wanted to clarify that. And that seems to be everybody's interpretation of it generally, so I'll convey that.
And a building permit has a deadline as well, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and if they were to pull a building permit and then never acted on
It's
it,
still under a deadline.
then that would expire and that would implicate special permit, so.
Just a question, when does when did we, I remember the vote, but when did we do that? It seems like,
December 2021.
and they have 2 years?
Summer planning board meeting schedule, is there a motion to have one meeting in July and one meeting in August?
Okay, we want to pick it.
Oh. Okay, never mind. Sorry, go ahead.
I hate my new calendar and system. So we would be 4th of July, so it'd be the 11th of July. And around the 25th of July. It says I'm around, but I'm on trial.
Extra the 11th.
11th, got the 11th already.
I think that works for me.
You'll get the 11th.
Got the 8th of August, which I will be right now away unless somebody wants to buy me out of the rental that we are stuck with right now.
And the 22nd,
And the 22nd that I will be here.
Okay, there's a motion to,
It's 22nd.
I'm good as of now.
11 and 22.
the 11th of July and the 22nd of August for our meeting dates for our summer schedule.
Those are the dates we will meet.
We will be meeting on the 11th of July and we will be meeting on the 22nd of August.
So moved.
Seconded discussion. Discussion. All in favor?
Hi.
I,
Unanimous. Okay, there are no subject for the projects and there are no topics reasonably anticipated at this talk about reorganizing the board. Margaret's not here.
He's everything.
So, we can do it anyway and just tell her what we've done it for. Tell you, oh, by the way, you're,
I got on CPC
that's how, I
18 years ago.
mean, I don't know if it's right to just, should, she's been on 15 years. Should we just tell her what she's doing or
So,
should we open the meeting next week?
well, we can do it next time.
Let's open the meeting with it and,
Yeah.
because I know what she's gonna say. I don't want to, but you do.
So, we are currently Tommy's chair, Gary Bohan was vice chair. Kathy, you're the clerk, Margaret's the treasurer, and I'm the member. Traditionally, we've just moved one seat up
Right.
every time. And
Well, that gives the person that becomes chairman a chance to do all three, the treasurer, the clerk, and the vice chair. Just don't throw them into the fire right away.
Yeah, Gary screwed that up.
But Gary should have. But Gary. And the Sealands.
the job of treasurer is, well, member, you've earned your membership. Now we've got, we're just gonna have a compliment. Treasurer's less work. Thank you. Yeah. The treasurer's less work than member, right? So you'd be member coming in as treasurer, then probably makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And then, but then the question is, does Margaret want to skip a turn?
Does she, do we want to include her in this discussion or just simply just tell her, it's the same difference because we're gonna open this, we would open the next meeting, with the real correct way. It's good you're ready, and Margaret's certainly ready, and I'd love to put you in, that'd be fun as a pass.
So how would this, just,
why not?
so how would this play out? I mean, I'm still, you tried to explain it to me. I'm still confused about how the process.
So normally, if we were all here.
Yeah.
Then Gary would be chair.
Right.
And
that'd
you'd be
vice
vice chair, Margaret would be clerk.
Yeah.
I would move up to treasurer and Tommy would be the member. But now that we've got a change and Gary's out, I don't think it's fair to make you chair on your first.
It's not.
I'm sorry to the chairman.
But you are
Thank
fair,
Gary.
I will tell you, you are fair game for a treasurer because once you're done being
Treasurer
chair,
is
you
really-
want to be number. So that's good. So I would suggest that Tommy be the member, that you be the treasurer. I'm happy to be the scrivener. And I think the only question is, do you and Margaret want to flip a year to give you another year? But she came on, I mean, she rolled off.
I just suggested, I'm sure she's okay with somebody else being.
Right. You okay to be chair?
Oh, I would love to be. I mean, I think housing is going to be a big focus. At first, I was a
Then-
little bit,
You're gonna bring more energy to the role. She's gonna bring students. I don't know. Students. Margaret's the dean of biology at Birmingham University.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's your other member.
she's on a bike. She also is a serious bicyclist. She's on a bicycle trip now to raise money for cancer.
Oh,
Well, then, I think we can do it now then. Because it's early,
Well,
I was a little worried about you not wanting to step up the extra bump.
The only question is if it's Margaret's turn.
It's not.
Okay,
She'd be vice chair and you'd be chair.
okay,
That's the turn.
okay.
Well, you'd be taking it without having a term as vice chair. You'd be going right from 2 years and then right into the chair. That would be different.
Yeah.
But Margaret's already been chairman how many times? Twice?
In two different boards.
So I'll accept the motion.
So, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Ken.
Ken, what's your last name?
Ray.
Ken Ray. I had it down as Ray. All right, I was dyslexic Ray.
And it's an E on the end.
R-A,
Y.
not K-E-N-E.
No.
Oh, no. Kenny.
Not Ken.
Alright, so I would move that the board reconstitute with, starting at the beginning of next meeting with Kathy as chair, Margaret as vice chair, Paul as clerk, Ken as treasurer, and Tom as member.
Second that for discussion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
Do we want to deal with our delegate to the CMRPC?
Just, no, well, no. Thanks.
Oh, you don't want to be on the seal?
Usually we have two delegates because
The joke.
we choose somebody and then the board of selectmen chooses somebody for us.
Yeah.
Without asking us.
The joke is that if you miss a meeting, you can end up being assigned a committee like CMRPC or this one or that one.
Capital budget.
I like capital budget.
And
All right.
you're gonna join the meeting during the meeting. We get game
Hold
going.
on.
Now?
Yes, you're in it.
Oh.
Don't adjourn the meeting. I haven't
Okay.
done my planner's report.
No, I missed
You
it.
want to ask me for a planner's report, please?
Yeah, do we have?
I said, I could.
Yes.
Stop taking
That's
minutes.
Oh,
No, she can play out.
he said effective at the next
I
meeting.
did say that.
Okay.
All right.
Guys approved.
Sorry,
Thank you.
go right ahead.
Yeah, we can fly through this. The facade program, as Kathy reminded me, I think last time I reported it was not going well. It's going much better. We had, 4 applicants, 4 strong applicants, and we were able to, approve 3 of the applications to, wipe out the funding of that program, which is great. So, we'll be funding like $19,820 of the $20,000 in that program.
Who are the applicants, do you know?
112 Main Street, 111 Main Street. So 111 is McCormick, 112 right across the street.
Okay.
The old antique clothing
Oh,
shop
yeah.
house.
Okay.
And then Fisk and Main
Oh,
is also got approved. And the only one that wasn't approved was Rushford and Sons.
okay.
And only because they wanted to do something for like the whole building and it's a facade program. So that was the only thing that precluded them. So that was great.
What's Bill doing? Yes, do you know?
He wants to repaint and kind of bring to life the details of that well, the gazebo over the well that he has.
Okay.
And then, the porch needs some work, like including the aesthetic features that have been removed over time, like the corbels, like above the porch, some of those decorative features. I think that was mostly it. Yeah, so basically the porch and the gazebo.
Okay.
The DPW chief talked me about that bridge is going to be here, right there in front of the bridge.
Yeah.
And when we made our decision, we put something in there that is gonna have to be for traffic, there's gonna have to be something around there. Do we know anything about that?
Oh, when
When that's gonna get done?
I don't have any, no, I don't have
We
it.
could ask the fire chief for the DPW if he knows when and check our, if you could check our conditions and if we put anything in about what they have to do
Okay,
for parking, if it's gonna affect parking, if it's gonna
Oh,
affect the
okay, sure.
operation at all.
okay, sure. I'll look into that. Great.
Because if they start closing up more of it, they may lose some space.
I know there's been some preliminary design about that bridge, but as far as timeline on it, I'm not quite sure. Yeah, did everybody get that?
Who's pet? Your pet?
Yeah, mine. It's mine.
I'll be submitting
It's a good
MassWorks grant. That's what,
Every time I come in, I grab it.
as was noted earlier, I'll be submitting the MassWorks grant, June 2nd to extend sewer and water down 140. So I just got tying bonds, review with a cost estimate and,
That's from the town did that, the town asked for that review, who's paid for that, or?
I believe tying bond was working. Yes, well, we know,
No, I thought
we got funding to pay tying bond for last year's MassWorks grant program. So they are paid for by the state through that same program. So we'll be submitting that again. Hopefully that goes well. The other grant opportunities I wanted to quickly run through, which was the Mass Downtown Initiative. Kathy Reed spoke about this.
That's a good one.
Which one? What did you suggest you wanted to pursue with that?
housing.
What specifically? Just
We talked about affordable housing
affordable housing.
in downtown.
Did you want to do an inclusionary zoning bylaw?
I think
Inquiry
we
about
have to
it?
decide, want to discuss it further.
Okay,
And it's a planning grant, that's what I think the facade.
It's almost a general planning grant, the downtown initiative. It has to be focused on downtowns, right? So basically within our Upton Center Business District would be anything that we're looking to do. Previously, I had gotten a market analysis done for downtowns to understand what, if we're not zoning for appropriate uses, we'd like to know what uses there's an actual market for to be able to locate in a downtown.
What's your comps from what other towns would you use to compare?
The markets where people are driving to get their services. That's what would be evaluated in order to make recommendations relative to that.
We were talking about looking at the feasibility of housing in that downtown Upton Center. Like that whole area.
Yeah, I mean, the market analysis suitable for housing mix. That's one of the items I'm happy to throw something together, without any promises this time around because it's due next week. But
it's due next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm happy to throw something in
Okay.
to just, these are things we're thinking of now. There's a whole bunch of stuff we can, housing, economics of downtown. I just mentioned housing, downtown mobility, creation of parking benefit district, analysis of existing and future parking needs. So maybe do a parking analysis. I mean, parking is obviously an issue, and
Do you have to list these needs, straight down so that before to apply for that, or do you just?
You basically pick what you want and what you would like to get funding for, and you make the case for that. Or so if we're like, we want to get a parking analysis done, we want a parking plan. So I would make the case for why we need a parking plan. I think it would be easy.
Is it better to ask for a whole bunch of different things or just for a few that you really need?
Just for one thing.
I mean, the thing with the parking analysis is we don't know what we're doing in that area
Sure.
yet. And so to analyze what our needs are is kind of premature.
If you focus on one need, it's a lot easier to qualify, a lot better, more.
Yeah,
likely to
yeah,
qualify.
absolutely.
And the housing seems to fit in with the MBTA community. It seems to fit
Sure.
in with, the housing production plan. It seems to fit with
There's another grant for the housing I'm happy to submit for. There is a community planning grant that we're eligible for through the Housing Choice Initiative that I got support for. I can apply for that to just give us assistance in MBTA communities. I was thinking about doing that anyway.
When does that one do? Week after next?
It's also the next week.
Really?
I'll do
And you were just kidding.
Well, just a Xerox though.
Yeah. No, I think these ones are a little bit easier,
Yeah.
other than the MassWorks grant, which is better based, but.
Yeah.
Because these ones are just planning grants, so it's just, this is the need.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, so.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm happy to, pursue those if the board is okay with, because they're planning grants. I'd be working with, DHCD to get the appropriate consultants, things like that. Is gonna be my experience, especially with the Massachusetts Downtown Initiative. Super easy. If they pick your application, they do all the legwork as far as they say, all right, here's a consultant that we've already been working with, pre-approved, and discuss with them the scope, and then you're off.
And there was no fine print.
Did the EDC have any preference for that one, or are they looking at that?
The EDC, what did I talk to them about? They're more concerned about doing pre-application work with Grove Street Bridge and delineating wetlands and.
So they weren't
floodplain.
interested in either of the two grants we're talking
No.
about? Yeah, okay.
Sure, do you have anything for the board?
I do not. It's my first time in one of these, so I'm curious.
What may I ask, what brought you to such a fascinating place?
The issue with the 41 Milford, because I'm on Brook Street.
Okay. Yeah,
Did we miss any
Just one.
significant issues?
No, not really. I was just trying to get the lowdown on what the status was.
we don't know, as much as, or anywhere near as much as when they submit either any kind of an engineering plan that we can send them, you to take a look at.
Yeah.
Because they're the experts, and it goes out to all of those folks in town and our reviewing engineer, so we get a pretty good idea of whether it meets all the safety all the minimum requirements, whatever that may be, things that we missed. We looked at the obvious stuff, but they'll do the detailed stuff. And there's a public hearing for that.
Right.
So there's 10.
Yeah, and they were before us 10 years ago.
Okay, it was a long time.
At least, back when the house was still there and, the house has been knocked
Right.
down and everything.
Yeah.
And it was gonna be a small plaza, commercial, I think 100% commercial.
Strip mall.
Yeah, a little strip mall. It looked okay. They just never felt it, and it was before the economy really, it wasn't 20, it wasn't, maybe it was 20.
They ran into the conservation issue. The conservation was still under conservation control because it wasn't under the village district.
Yeah.
Planning board.
But one of the big issues that the neighbors raised was that in front of that, on 140, there was often water that was coming onto the road, and they didn't want it to increase. And we tried to address that, but they didn't build it, and I haven't seen water in that area in 10 years. Are you aware of anything?
I haven't, we've been there 17 on Brook Street.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of anything there, so.
Going between that and Gasco. Good.
So Tom, we haven't done the minutes yet.
Is that a motion to approve the minutes as distributed?
Well, except I want to add I sent out draft minutes today. And the only thing missing from them is, I would like to do a link to where we include all the material that was discussed, all the plans, all that stuff, just like Grace automatically to put the link on before they're finalized.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Move to approve the minutes as drafted with that amendment.
Second, discussion? All those in favor? It's changed.
Okay.
One last thing, under planner's report, solar bylaw.
Yes.
So as you're probably aware, in our table of uses, solar is only allowed as a special permit. Well, I should clarify. Solar farms, commercial solar farming, is only allowed within the solar overlay district, which I believe is just that way down 140. Center, yeah. And so, but there is a note in the table of uses that says something to the effect, and I get the exact language, but it says something to the effect of, or as exempted by chapter 48, section 3. Calling specifically out a section of Mass General Legislature that calls out exempted uses that are exempted by zoning, things like schools, churches, institutional uses, that sort of thing. And there's been recent case law that's come out about solar farms, just basically being treated more in line with those other Dover Amendment type uses. So my question is, if we were to receive inquiry or an application for a solar farm outside of that overlay district pursuant to that footnote, my assumption is that we would allow for them to at least apply to the planning board with the special permit application, and the planning board would decide whether or not they're willing to entertain the application, and then through going through the appropriate public hearing process to either approve or deny.
We got sued on that.
Yeah, we won.
Well, we outlasted.
Yeah, I believe certain nonprofits. Yeah.
So we came in with a
So
solar
how
farm.
could they come in under Dover?
Well, yeah, let's talk to Mike about this one, because this was an interesting one. So up on North Street, just off of North Street, it was a cluster. The developer wanted to put in a solar farm. They went to the zoning board first. Zoning board said, well, that is a residential neighborhood. This is a commercial use, but they ended up giving them a use variance to do it. The neighbors never got notice of the use variance application or the hearing or anything else. So they took the position that it was an ineffective grant. And they were litigating on that. I forget if they actually litigated on it. And then they came to the planning board and said, all right, we need site plan review and a special permit. So we ran the two hearings together. We gave them unanimous site plan approval.
I voted against the special.
And then we voted 2-2 on the special permit, which was a loss.
You know why? They didn't,
I-
the neighbors.
Two of us said that they had the use change so that zoning wasn't an impediment anymore, so that they could put a commercial use in there. Two of us said, yeah, but it's a special permit, so we get to look at it anyway, and we don't think that it's an appropriate use for this neighborhood.
Detrimental
Two neighborhoods,
actually values in the neighborhood. It's detrimental to the property value.
So we
need
got-
property values to get a revenue. We need those are taxpayers.
Well, that's
that
a
give
clear
to the
cut
town.
on the forest.
You want to lower
Correct.
value, and you gotta lower the money coming to the town. So it's a reasonable way to say you work with the neighbors, you get everybody to agree, and they didn't talk to the neighbors at all. So
So we got sued, and then we kind of just outlasted them, they moved on. But I think the special permit, if they came to us, I think we would look at it as to whether it fit the neighborhood or not.
yeah, because it's a great
I mean,
idea.
you would evaluate it on its merits if you were decided to proceed by allowing the special permit, right?
Except we would still say if it's a commercial, I think we would need clarification. We'd probably send them to the ZBA and say, you need a zoning.
Yes, was both.
So-
So we need solar because
Go ahead.
one of the things is Kelly Farms came in.
Yeah.
I don't know, probably just started, and they wanted to put solar and grow their crops underneath, put the high solar in
Yeah.
and the crops underneath. Not effective, we didn't, it's not zoned for that.
Right,
We had to say no,
right.
and that's a good,
Well, why did they come to us and not the ZBA?
it's both, I think this is, I don't know.
ZBA sends everybody to us.
The site, because there's a site plan and a special permit and all of
Right, but the first step is getting the variance saying, okay, you can build on that, right?
No,
Okay.
the way that this is set up is that special permits for solar are granted through this. program.
Okay, okay.
But only in what zones?
Only in the CNI district, which is down there, closer to home.
It's in there, is down there. Yeah.
You know,
And so, but note 10 on the table of uses says, provided that large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic installations in the SRA, SRB, SRC, SRD, AR, GB, UCBD, and MGF districts are not otherwise exempted by general laws. So I asked Gary Bohan about this, previously on board very recently, and asked him what his impression of that note was, because my reading of it after being.
Mike tried to ask me, I said, Gary wrote the note, ask him.
So, yeah, with Paul's recommendation, I called
I
Gary.
don't know what it meant.
And, because my instinct after reading the recent case law was, this note was put in there to avoid a scenario where we have somebody who is applying for a solar farm, but understands that MGL 40A Section 3 specifically calls out solar as a potentially exempted use, meaning it can go anywhere in any zone in town with a special permit. And that's exactly what is being discussed with regard to solar around the state. Which
So,
is,
so the way we have it now, if the state changes, our bylaw would allow it anywhere. But maybe
What do you
if the
have
state changes, it's gonna be allowed anywhere no matter what.
Why do we have a bylaw if it doesn't do anything?
Well, it does now. And that bylaw was put in, I think this green community, we wanted to get green community status, right? So I think that's why we
maybe.
put the first in.
It's a horrible
Okay.
bylaw, should be able to
But
put
if
solar.
it, yeah, but
it's
it
a
was
good-
restricted.
Well,
But it's a good solar farm. If it's constructed safely and it's constructed well, and it doesn't bother the neighborhood, it's a boon to the town.
Like Kelly seems
Yeah,
to.
it's
Yeah.
good, if it's not gonna bother, it, it's not gonna kill any birds or frogs aren't gonna have two heads, whatever the problems are.
Ugly though.
Here's a golf course I can think of.
And right now, you couldn't put one at the golf course.
Hmm.
We've had people ask, but I said, no, it's not zoned. We
Right.
can't zone.
Yeah, but now you're saying you can do it anywhere.
No, that's what the state's talking about.
Oh.
Well, that's been the result of, settled case law out of the courts is, they have been treating this use as though it's more of a Dover Amendment use. And so because the Dover Amendment does not specify when it calls out solar as being residential or accessory to residential, it doesn't distinguish that between commercial venture. It's I think it's coming out recently that it's,
It's not a utility. We can't regulate cell phones
Yeah.
because they're not considered a utility.
right,
We can do water, we can do sewer.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they're considering solar a utility.
almost.
So what should we be doing?
So I just wanted to run this by the board to make, or just basically to make you aware, because I've been talking to Pat Roach about it, building commissioner. He spoke with, Mark Bobrowski, who wrote the book on, literally, on zoning law in Massachusetts, and, his opinion was just send them to the planning board for a special permit and see what shakes.
Has there been anybody coming to the town?
Yeah, that's why it's coming up.
Hmm?
Yeah, this is why it's
Okay.
a pressing issue.
And if a board
Can I
reviews
take
it,
back
is it any
the
different
chair?
than any other special permit with its impact? Whether it's a sawmill or whether it's a whatever it may be.
I don't know.
It's gonna be impacts.
They can be, like that last one was on the hillside. Some people said it would have been ugly, some people have said no.
That's basically it. I wanted to make the board aware of those conversations.
And it doesn't work November to March. It won't work no matter where you put it up.
Oh, yeah.
So why didn't, I'm sorry, because I know if everyone wants to leave, I can do this offline, but why did Kelly's not go through? I know it wasn't in the right area, but according,
Well, the case law I'm talking about is very recent. So, and it's still not, there still is not enough case law to justify taking a firm stand on,
It's a small dollar thing.
2 years ago, we said it wasn't zoned.
but Gary's bylaw, the way he wrote it,
No,
seemed
it's
to,
Yeah, no, the bylaw says you can only put it in these areas unless you've got an exemption under the statute.
yes.
And
Which is
right now, Upton would say you don't have an exemption under that statute because you don't. You'd have to be a church or a school.
okay.
But the case law might start to turn.
Okay. Now
It
I-
says that exemption might grow.
That should be legislation, but they rely on case law too much.
Anyway,
Get the money, go to lawyers, politicians.
Oh, boy.
If you couldn't tell.
All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Meeting